Mr. Bell will be with you shortly. Please have a seat.
Perfect.
What's up, everybody? I'd like to welcome you all back to the Biopsychosocial. I'm your host, Gilbert and Bell, and in this week's episode, we're going to be discussing mental health and nutrition. Before we begin, I'd like to give a huge shout out to everybody who shared, who listened, who gave feedback, who commented on last week's episode. I truly appreciate it, and I hope you keep it going. I don't know about you guys, but for the past couple of months, I've been bored in the house. I've been in the house bored. And when I'm bored, I like to eat. And when I'm stressed, I like to eat. And I know it's nowhere near healthy. It's not good. I know. This is why I wanted to speak about it, because I'm wondering, how many other people are going through this. And I kind of have an idea because when I look at my social media news feeds, a lot of people are basically in the same boat. They're either overeating or they're eating to relieve anxiety and stress. And what COVID-19 has done is highlight how Black and brown communities, Hispanic communities are really impacted by underlying medical conditions such as diabetes, high blood pressure, any cardiovascular disease. And this to me, this is not shocking or surprising. It's really concerning because you gotta look at how many people are out there really dealing with this. Let's look at some numbers. So according to the American Diabetes Association, in 2018, 34.2 million Americans, or 10.5% of the population, had diabetes. So that's nearly 1.6 million Americans have type 1 diabetes, including about 187,000 children and adolescents. Out of that 34.2 million, 7.3 million were undiagnosed. So 11.7% are non-Hispanic Blacks and 12.5% are Hispanics. Now let's make a connection. People living with diabetes are at an increased risk for a cardiovascular disease. And here's why. Because people with diabetes, particularly type 2 diabetes, may have, conditions such as high blood pressure, abnormal cholesterol, obesity, lack of physical activity or exercise, or smoking that can lead to cardiovascular diseases. We know that everybody is at risk to get COVID-19. However, non-Hispanic Black, Hispanic and Latinos, American Indian, Alaska Natives are at a higher rate of hospitalizations and death due to COVID-19 than among non-Hispanic white persons. And as of June 12, 2020, age-adjusted hospitalization rates are at the highest amongst non-Hispanic American Indian or Alaskan Native and non-Hispanic Black persons, followed by Hispanic and Latino persons. All right, so before I put you to sleep with all these numbers, I just wanted to highlight, give you some perspective on the amount of people that this impacts. But I want you to make a connection again. So if this many amount of people are dealing with these medical conditions, diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, cardiovascular disease, that is trauma in itself. Medication, hospital visits, loss at work, sickness, stress, anxiety, which is mental health. Now we're moving into our mental health. If you're stressed, if you're dealing with anxiety, this is all mental health. And I wanted to bring that up because, we have how many people in America are dealing with mental health that's not even correlated to their diet. But let's look at mental health when it is connected to your diet. Answer this question. Have you ever been hangry? like hungry and angry at the same time, or you're so hungry that you get mad at the most littlest things. That's what we call hangry. And why does that happen? Why? Because you're hungry, it upsets you. It makes you, it shifts your mood. Or have you ever been so stressed that you pick up whatever is in the refrigerator, in the cabinets, like you just nonstop eat to make you feel better about your stress, to try to make you forget about it, or remember like the girl that her boyfriend, may have done something to her, cheated on her, or dissed her. I don't know. She didn't get the guy. She didn't get the job. And the first thing she does is run to the freezer for the half a gallon of ice cream. What is that? Why is that? What I've also taken into consideration is that individuals are immersed in their culture, and a lot of food from different cultures, it's not particularly the most healthiest choices, but they taste hella good. They taste so damn good that, hey, my grandmama lived off of this forever. My mama's still living off of this. So you can't tell me that this ain't good for me. And this is a common theme throughout a lot of cultures. It's a common theme throughout the Black and brown community. Like, take for instance, I knew a guy who borderline diabetic, at risk for full diabetes, and his doctor advised him that if he was to make some changes in his diet, get some exercise, he could reduce and manage his risk for diabetes. And the one thing is that it was in his family history. He already had family members that went through the same process. He watched the process of them being sick, amputations, all of this. And this individual was also at risk to be headed towards amputation because his legs already started to swell. And if you don't know, somebody will have to receive amputation from diabetes because the diabetes led to a peripheral artery disease, or PAD. And that's when the blood vessels, they narrow and reduce the blood flow to your legs and feet. So what happens is that eventually you have to have the limb removed. And this young man was at risk for this. And one small thing I used to talk to him about changing was he used to drink the iced tea mix, the sweet iced tea mix. And I used to talk to him about, maybe you can make some choice, a different choice, maybe some seltzer water. I don't like seltzer water. Regular water, make some juice, juice some fruit or something. And, he would say, all right, I'm going to do it. Then I would see him again and he'd say, so you have you had any iced tea? And he like, oh man, I went into the store and it was on sale. So, I couldn't resist. And, that right there also was like a factor that I pondered on, because if something is affordable and not good for you, and you're from a low income community, you're more than likely to pick up this unhealthy product regardless of what it's doing to you, because you find comfort in the taste. This taste makes you feel good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for you, and you put yourself at risk, trauma, for amputation. So these are things that we have to look at when it comes to our diet and our mental health. It's almost like our food has us committing this long drawn out suicide, and depending on family history, it might be a quick suicide. And regardless of the information or the examples that we have seen, read, heard, we continue to subject ourselves to poisoning basically our minds and our bodies. Some people say, buying healthy or eating healthy costs money. And you're absolutely right, it does. What I look at is how fortunate individuals who are living off of TANF or SNAP are in a better position than myself to buy healthy foods. When you go to, if you receive $400, $300, $500 a month free money to buy food, and majority of that money is spent on byproducts, sugary drinks, starches that affect diabetic, candy, whatever. Or if you misusing your money and doing whatever you do with it, you cannot complain that eating healthy is expensive. Taking myself, for example, I live in America. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I'm a father, full-time program manager. I've started this venture with my podcast, have children. I don't have a lot of time to prepare healthy meals all the time, right? Majority of the time, I can. But I also mix because I grew up on, some of these products. I love a cup of noodles. I love some ramen. I could chef the shit out of some ramen. But don't get me wrong. I can also prepare a dinner, a breakfast, a lunch that is highly nutritional, healthy, even unhealthy. My family is from the South. So yes, I know my soul food. My wife is from the Caribbean. So yes, I get that. And I've learned, my own style over the years. I'm not a guru. I'm not a Dalai Lama when it comes to nutrition. But I have felt the effects of what eating unhealthy has done to me. I can remember waking up and feeling so sluggish, so tired because I ate a bunch of crap the night before or ate super late. And it affected my work performance because I was at a point where I don't even want to be at work because I'm so tired, or I may even fall asleep at work. And I had to, look at that and start doing something different to change that. Then I would look at how certain foods would put me to sleep. And you know what they call that? That's the itis. It would put me to sleep at the wrong time. Midday, I would go and I'll go out and I'll get some lunch. It could be fast food most of the time. And I'll eat and I go get back ready to go to work, and all of a sudden I'm slumping at my desk, head bobbing. And to me, this was kind of embarrassing because one, I didn't want to be seen sleeping at the job, and two, I'm like, what's going on? Am I some old man now? Like I eat a meal and now I want to just pass out, and I can't control it. I had to look at that for a few years. I want to say maybe 3 or 4, maybe even longer. But I know for quite some time, I was doing the intermittent fasting thing. And I really liked that. That was great. And I even started back, over the past month, I've intermittent fasting. I don't eat during work hours. I come home, either I cook or my wife cook, and I eat then, and I may have a snack depending on how I feel, and it's a healthy snack, maybe some almonds or walnuts. But I'm trying to manage that because yes, I am getting older. And once again, COVID-19 has shown that underlying medical conditions are an extreme factor in whether you're going to make it through or not. And I want to make it through. I have kids to raise. But now, trauma, stressing, anxiety, the crime rate has picked up in New York, in Brooklyn, the protests, the Black Lives Matter movement. We have COVID-19. We have a president in office that has an opinion that doesn't rub people the right way. We are dealing with just so much stress right now. It's so much. It's hard to keep up. I try not to even watch the news too much because you start taking on all that stress, start living vicariously through people's trauma, and it affects you. And we were also dealing with food shortages, where when the pandemic hit, people rushed out and they empty shelves and people couldn't feed their families. People were snatching up all the cleaning products. People snatched up all the sanitizer. People snatched up all the tissue. Trauma. Now you got an individual worrying how they're going to protect their family, how they're going to feed their family, how they're going to keep their family safe. Stress, anxiety, got to stay 6 feet. Somebody invades your 6 feet, it's a problem. When just a few months ago, you could be dead up on somebody and it's nothing. But now you have to deal with people's anxiety because if you're too close, people don't want to wear masks. This is all trauma. This all impacts your mental health. My personal opinion is that we can manage this trauma a little bit better if we take care of our physical health through our food or what foods we put into our body. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about different foods that are beneficial in helping to treat or manage diabetes, high blood pressure, and cardiovascular diseases.
Perfect.
Okay, welcome back. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some foods that are beneficial and helpful in preventing, reducing, or managing, diabetes, high blood pressure, and other cardiovascular diseases. And I'm pretty sure you guys may have heard this or have heard this numerous, as number one on our list is eat your leafy greens. Eat your greens. They are super beneficial for fighting diabetes, high blood pressure, and a host of many other diseases. But in regards to like high blood pressure, a lot of leafy greens have potassium, and potassium helps your kidneys get rid of sodium through your urine, and that in turn lowers your blood pressure. So a lot of leafy greens which are suggested are like romaine lettuce, arugula, kale, turnip greens, collard greens, spinach, beet greens, and Swiss chard. These greens can definitely have a huge impact on managing and controlling high blood pressure and even diabetes. Canned vegetables often have sodium added to it, but frozen vegetables has just as much nutrients in it as fresh vegetables. So these could be easily blended into like a nice vegetable or fruit drink. And speaking of fruit, next on our list is berries, especially blueberries, which are rich in a natural compound called flavonoids. And they say that consuming these compounds prevent hypertension and help to lower blood pressure. Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries are super simple and easy. What I usually do, I freeze mine, and when I get up in the morning, I throw it right into my blender, some water, protein powder if I worked out that day, and I'm good to go. And I'll hold that, and that'll be my lunch later on. You can add it to your cereal, your granola in the morning, whatever you want. But you definitely want to get your daily dose of berries. All right, next on the list is one of my favorite foods, fish, and in particular, salmon, mackerel, any fish with omega-3s. Because these fish, they're lean in protein, and fish like salmon and mackerel are high in omega-3 fatty acids, which can lower blood pressure, reduce inflammation, and lower triglycerides. Other fish like trout contain vitamin D, and this is rarely found in food because when you think of vitamin D, you think about milk, but trout does contain vitamin D, and this hormone-like vitamin has properties that can lower blood pressure. And the one thing that I love about fish or salmon is that it's super easy to make. I just take it out, I clean it up, I salt. If you want pepper, I don't usually use pepper, some olive oil. You put it in some aluminum foil, sit it on a baking tray, and in about 30-40 minutes, depending on how crispy you like yours, voila, you have some great tasting salmon. No hassle, no hustle. So let me just say that if you are an individual who is dealing with high blood pressure, hypertension, then you definitely do not want to use salt. For those who can, you want to use salt in moderation, because salt is good for you. It retains water in the body, prevents you from cramping. Some other spices, like garlic and herbs are definitely good for reducing hypertension and increasing the amount of nitric oxide in the body. So nitric oxide helps to promote vasodilation or the widening of arteries to reduce blood pressure. And by using these spices, these herbs in your diet, you can definitely cut back on your salt intake. A few more examples are like basil, cinnamon, thyme, rosemary. You can read a little bit more on this. If you're watching my YouTube, I'll put a link in the description so you could find a resource for the types of spices that you can use to help reduce your salt intake. Mainly, all the foods that I mentioned so far are not only good for hypertension, high blood pressure, they're also good in managing your diabetes. Another food, or if you want to call it drink, is skim milk or yogurt. And this may be due to the probiotics that it contains, but it has been shown to improve blood sugar control and reduce heart disease. As I mentioned before, one of my favorite snacks are things like almonds. And nuts are a great way to help reduce and control your diabetes and your high blood pressure. Nuts like almonds, Brazil nuts, cashew, hazelnuts, macadamia nuts, pecans, pistachios, and walnuts are great sources of digestible carbs. But you do want to consult with your doctor because some you may have an allergy, and some have more carbs than others. So definitely do your homework on that. I didn't mention this with the leafy greens, but it definitely is a powerful green, broccoli. Broccoli is one of the most nutritious vegetables around. Half a cup of cooked broccoli contains only 27 calories and 3 grams of digestible carbs, along with important nutrients like vitamin C and magnesium. There are a variety of foods to help you control and manage diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease. A notable mention, apple cider vinegar, which has been shown to improve insulin. You just have to do, a little bit of digging, ask some questions. If you don't know, speak with your medical provider. I am not giving medical advice. I am not a doctor. I have tried different foods over the course of my adult life that help, make me feel better. I give suggestions. You could take it if you want to, but I would suggest that you do consult with your medical provider. So what I want to do, if you're watching the YouTube, and make sure you guys go check out the video on YouTube at Gilbert and Bell Live. I'm going to have a great friend of mine. I spoke about her in episode 1, Chef Rakisha Dandridge. She's going to prepare a healthy meal for us, and she's going to do her thing, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So head over to my YouTube, Gilbert and Bell Live. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. Don't forget to subscribe. As far as the podcast, definitely share if you enjoyed what you heard. If you enjoyed this content, please support. You can support on the Anchor platform. There's a support button. You can support by sending this podcast to a friend and, just keep listening. If you would like to follow me on social media, on Instagram, it's at Gilbert and Bell Live. On Facebook, it's Gilbert and Bell Live, The Life of Gilbert and Bell. TikTok at Gilbert and Bell Live. LinkedIn, Gilbert Bell. What other social medias I have? I have so many, so YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. I don't have a Twitter account. I used to. Maybe I'll get it again. But until then, guys, please, I appreciate any type of support. Until next week, you guys have a blessed, beautiful, wonderful day. Peace. I'd like to give a special shout out to Miss Rakisha Dandridge from Addition Kitchen, who's going to prepare a beautiful meal for us, a quick meal, a quick snack and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you would like to reach out to her, you can find her at Addition Kitchen on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you again, everybody.
Perfect.
Hi guys, welcome back to Addition Kitchen, and today we are going to be making something heart healthy, something quick and easy, something high in protein, omega-3. We are going to be making some salmon, okay, with the crispy skin. We are going to be roasting some green beans with some tomatoes, and for my snack of choice, we are going to have a smoothie. I want strawberries and bananas. I mean, I gotta do the vegetables today because we have that in the meal. So join me, because we are about to eat it. Okay, so we have everything set up here. We have our green beans, we have our cherry tomatoes, we have our salmon, and we have extra virgin olive oil, some salt, some black pepper, and a lemon, in which we are going to use for later. We have a few ingredients, but trust and believe me when I tell you, this is going to taste amazing. So first, you just want to drizzle some olive oil, and I have the oven set already. I put it on 400 just because I want it a little high. We're just going to sprinkle some salt, liberally. Some black pepper. I like some pepper. And we just want to toss this around. Bam, bam, bam. This is going to be amazing. Trust me when I tell you. Okay? So I'm going to just throw this in the oven. And now we want to focus, bam, on our protein. What I'm going to do is just put some olive oil. And what this does is it just helps the seasoning to adhere to the protein. Bam. And the key to the crispy skin is you want to make sure your salmon is dry. So I just, made sure I dried this before I actually started to prep. So you're going to put a lot of salt on this because the salt also helps the crispiness of the skin. Trust me, it's not going to be salty. I promise you. Some black pepper. I'm going to flip this over. Do the same thing. Add some pepper. So now I have my pan on the stove, and I have my heat on medium high. I'm just going to put a little olive oil because the salmon already has olive oil on it. Okay, I'm also going to add a little butter in this pan. You can omit this part. I just like a little extra added flavor. So you can roll with me or you can roll without me. But I'm going to roll either way. So we're just going to place our salmon skin side down into the pan and let this brown for about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so now the salmon is pretty much done on the opposite side, on the skin side down. What you don't want to do is, I'm actually taking my fish spatula and I'm going to just gently turn this over. What you don't want to do is overcook your fish, because if you overcook the fish, you will tell by the white stuff oozing out the sides. And if you have the white stuff oozing out the sides, that pretty much means that you've overcooked it and it'll be dry. So you don't want to do that. I am going to just cook this for about 2 minutes on this side and we'll be done. Okay, so now the salmon is just about cooked. I'm going to take the vegetables out of the oven. So good. So good. So I'm just going to make some room for my fish. Bam. Bam. And here we have it, guys, our hot, healthy dish. So I'm just going to sprinkle some lemon juice on the top. Okay, so now I'm done plating, and here we have it. Okay, so now moving on to our smoothie. I just have a few simple ingredients. I have some frozen bananas, some frozen strawberries, and if you look at the banana, it doesn't really look like a banana, but it is. It's very ripe, and this just, you know, keeps you from adding a lot of sugar or sweetener into your smoothie. So I'm just gonna add some bananas, some strawberries, and it's better, in my opinion, to freeze your fruit first as opposed to using ice. That way, your smoothie won't be as watered down. Like, let's say if you want to use almond milk. I'm going to use water today because I'm out of almond milk. I do have 2% milk, but I'm not in the dairy mood. And that's another thing. Dairy has trans fat in it, so you want to shy away from that. I'm just going to put a little honey, and that's it. Okay, we should be done now. So while that was going, I just went and got me a glass and I rinsed it out. So I love my smoothies thick, y'all. This is very thick and very good, very delicious, very sweet because the fruit was ripe. And there you have it. Quick, easy snack. Thank you for joining me, guys. It was a pleasure, and I will see you soon. Bye.